the roar of Hurricane Hugo. By 11 o'clock Thursday night, it was obvious what kind of storm Charleston was dealing with, and it wasn't something to fool with. The sky lit up with lightning and popping transformers, and the city went dark.
We already know there's extensive damage here in Hurricane Hugo, and we're not even through with it yet.
Excuse me, folks, can we get you to please go to your room?
This hotel in North Charleston lost part of its roof, bringing the wind and rain inside.
"30 minutes past midnight. It's quiet. All is calm. This is the eye of Hurricane Hugo."
In the eye, the damage was evident. And as the eye of Hugo passed, it started all over again. Charleston's peninsula, and Hugo is gone. But the damage in the downtown area is extensive. Trees here, parts of buildings there.
Just after 6 a.m., and the water is receding here along Battery Park. Time to check up on the damage done to these historic homes.
We're very lucky. Strong house. No flooding. It was very, very rough. It was a little rocky. See, the dogs were petrified. It was pretty good. We had a friend from Orange Street come over, but it's a very steady house. It was a loud noise.
When was this house built?
1790.
Others weren't as lucky. In Charleston, tin roofs and hurricanes don't mix. The roof of City Hall was one of many that became scrap metal.
Well, it's just a terrible thing. The storm was extremely severe, Category 4, biggest hurricane the city's had in a century, maybe in its history. Buildings damaged, destroyed, roofs in the street, tops of buildings in the street. But the extraordinary power and fury of the hurricane is something the likes of which we've never seen.
It appears before the clock struck 12 last night, Charleston was dark. And in the daylight, some people were looking at the bright side.
Looks like some fond greetings here this morning.
Well, it's a lot funner than what was coming through here last night, yes.
Did y'all expect to see each other this time of morning?
Yeah, I just had faith that everything was going to work out last night. I did.
This police officer appeared to be the first to start the very long cleanup process. Even with Hugo gone, Charleston is still in a very vulnerable position. The National Guard and state police are on hand to help local authorities. Along the water, this is one of many boats that got a hard landing from Hugo. In North Charleston, warehouses along the interstate had their sides and tops blown onto the highway. And Hugo hit everybody, even those who try and help others. Last Tuesday, the residents of the Isle of Palms voted in favor of a second bridge connecting their island to the mainland. It's Friday, and they now need 2 new bridges. From Charleston, South Carolina, I'm Dave Statter, Eyewitness News.
In early September 1989, A well-organized wave of low pressure moved off the coast of West Africa and quickly intensified into a tropical depression on September 10th. Little did anyone know how devastating this storm would become.
It formed from a wave that came off the African coast during September 1989. It's one of the classic Cape Verde hurricanes. It developed very rapidly over the tropical Atlantic, and at one point it was a Category 5 hurricane when it was out to the east of the Lesser Antilles.
I remember on the 11th of September, the storm becoming a tropical depression, and shortly thereafter it was a tropical storm, and then it headed toward Puerto Rico, and all eyes were on Puerto Rico. Puerto Rico was really the first major target of the storm.
And one of our reconnaissance aircraft that flew into the storm lost an engine as it was penetrating the eye wall and spent a very nervous couple of hours circling around inside the eye before they could get out. But it was the data from that plane that told us that the storm was Category 5.
My boss came to me and said, "What do you think?" And I said, "Let's wait and see what happens once it hits Puerto Rico." Because still some of the models still had it veering off more to the north and eventually northeast. So I said, let's wait and see what happens.
Hugo had weakened from a Category 5, but was still a major hurricane when it struck Puerto Rico and the nearby islands on Monday, September 18th. It caused tremendous damage in eastern Puerto Rico, along with the islands of Vieques and Culebra.
We had the benefit of this storm, hurricane, being out there a good while, and to witness the terrible damage that occurred in the Caribbean. So we had the ability to know this was a killer hurricane.
Well, that Monday, the 18th, rolled around and it went right through Puerto Rico, the northeast tip, and it didn't veer. It wasn't changing course. So then I thought, maybe we need to take this a little more seriously.
It hits Puerto Rico, and we saw the devastation there, and it's still holding true to its track with Charleston right in its crosshairs. Then we started looking at some of the maps, and there was a forecast of a pretty decent-sized Bermuda high and a closed low in the eastern Gulf, and so there seemed to be a corridor that we thought Hugo would travel from North Carolina down to Florida, which is still a pretty large area, but we're kind of right in the middle of that.
You look at the weather features, it was just the perfect ingredients for a strike here. Big blocking ridge to the north. There's a little upper low over the central Gulf. There was really no place for that storm to turn.
And we were just watching this monster come, pretty much making a beeline toward the South Carolina coast. And I remember drawing this tube with the track and then extrapolating it right into the coast.
I do remember Thursday being such a pivotal day because it crossed over the Gulf Stream and all of a sudden it just exploded.
The structure of the storm was perfect. The environment was good for strengthening. I think some folks even misjudged maybe a little bit of the effects of the Gulf Stream. So, it was a rapidly intensifying storm for a little while as it crossed the Gulf Stream, because it was still a Cat 2 that morning, and by that night it was a Cat 4.
Once it became obvious that landfall somewhere along the South Carolina coast was imminent, local officials and the media began planning for the anticipated impacts.
I called my senior staff, department heads, staff members together, and told them that we should see this as an opportunity. And they looked at me a little odd. And I said, it's an opportunity because if this hurricane comes our way, then we will have the chance to serve our citizens when they need us more than they've ever needed us before.
Our location, our emergency operations center, and our day-to-day offices was in a very small cinder block building that we shared with the Charleston County Voter Registration Department. So when I went to work that morning before it hit, I knew I wasn't coming back. I told my family, my husband, my small child at the time, I'll see you when I see you.
And started doing things to signal the seriousness. One thing is we boarded up the windows in this building, which some thought was, why are they doing that so soon? But I wanted to telegraph that okay, the city's boarding up City Hall.
It was getting real hectic and busy, and we were just, phones were ringing and people were calling and asking, and we were trying to get the word out the best way we could.
We found a place to broadcast, which was at the Emergency Operations Center, which was off of Leeds Avenue. Now it's the old election warehouse. That's where the media was setting up. The national media started to really cover this.
I went to the National Weather Service office and spent the night there, and then we had crews who went to the Emergency Operations Center. We sent part of our crew to our transmitter site in Allendale, which turned out to be not the best decision.
Meanwhile, officials urged people in harm's way to evacuate, and for those who were planning to ride out the storm, to complete their preparations.
The most important thing for the mayor to do is evacuate his citizens, because hurricanes kill through storm surge more than anything else. Getting your citizens to evacuate is difficult because people don't want to leave. And you have to thread the needle between panic and fear. We went door to door in some sections of the city, getting people out and telling them they had to move. We opened some shelters on our own.
We didn't want to leave, but since the police came by the third time and said we should leave, we left.
So I get in the car and come out to get on Highway 17, and it was bumper to bumper for miles, both lanes.
With my family, we just ran out to the local store, which was Walmart, and to gather water, batteries, flashlights, and some perishable items so that we can get ready for the storm. It was really busy in Georgetown. It seemed like the cars was just, going back and forth. Everybody's in a big rush.
People are driving crazy. They're driving on the shoulder of the road. Everybody's got trailers. Everybody's packing up stuff. Gas stations are running out of gas. And all of a sudden, it's like mayhem.
This program to bring you a Live 5 weather bulletin.
The emergency preparedness is ordering everybody in the low-lying areas of Charleston, the West Ashley area, to get out now. You no longer have a choice. You're being ordered out, so it is a mandatory evacuation.
Hugo approaches, there are last-ditch efforts to get everyone and everything that can be moved to safety.
Have now been reversed, so there are only lanes leaving Charleston.
Rains are. Let's put this into motion, change the color a little bit, and show you the eye of the hurricane. That's the eye, the quiet spot right there moving up toward the northwest. A beeline on Charleston. Heavy bands of rain and heavy thunderstorms, too, and winds gusting over hurricane force now being reported in some stations along the coast of South Carolina. Torrential rainfalls and flooding, a likely scenario with this hurricane. Let's go ahead and show you another satellite perspective. This goes a little farther west toward Athens, Georgia, down in...
Hurricane Hugo, intermediate advisory 45B from the National Hurricane Center in Miami, Florida, at 10 p.m. Eastern Daylight Time, Thursday, September 21st. Extremely dangerous Hurricane Hugo bearing down on South Carolina coast. A hurricane warning remains in effect from Fernandina Beach, Florida, northward to the Oregon Inlet, North Carolina. Reconnaissance reports and satellite pictures indicate that Hugo is a Category 4 hurricane on the Saffir-Simpson hurricane scale. On the present course, the center is expected to cross the South Carolina coast near Charleston shortly after midnight tonight. At 10 p.m. Eastern Daylight Time, the center of Hugo was located near latitude 32.2 north, longitude 79.3 west. Expected to continue with a gradual turn toward the north in the next 12 hours. Maximum sustained winds are near 135 miles an hour, and little significant change in strength is likely prior to landfall.
We have a news release from the shelter people from the American Red Cross. The shelter at Wando High School is filled to capacity.
You can see just to the southeast of the Charleston area, there's the eye of the storm, very, very potent storm. And as
you to show you the convection, the showers and thunderstorms continuing now with Hurricane Hugo. Quite a massive cloud cover here. Again, as we mentioned, the center of Hurricane Hugo just 60 miles to the southeast of Charleston, South Carolina.
10 p.m. weather observations. Beaufort, rain, 74 degrees, 90% humidity. Wind northwest at 28 miles an hour, gusting to 38. Pressure 29.30 inches and falling. Down gusting to 47. Pressure 29.21 and falling.
Hurricane Hugo is now a strong Category 3 hurricane. I repeat, a strong Category 3 hurricane. That means that we will have winds up to 132 miles an hour.
We believe in county government that it is unsafe for you to travel and transverse the roadways.
The darker blue areas indicating the heavier rain, the feeder bands around this hurricane. Speaking of...
Ladies and gentlemen, landfall for Hurricane Hugo is between 12 and 1:30 this evening. North of the city of Charleston, we will have surges of between 12 and 18 feet. Serious storm surges. Hold where you are. Stay secure. The two-story house, go to the second story. I repeat, stay where you are.
We do have a Category 4 storm now.
The evening forecast for coastal South Carolina, a hurricane warning is in effect, a flash flood watch is in effect, and a tornado watch is in effect until 2 a.m. Friday. Tonight, winds increasing to hurricane force, rain and possible severe thunderstorms, rain heavy at times and occurring in squalls, low in the mid-70s. Friday, dangerously high winds decreasing, rain and thunderstorms with rain very heavy at times, high in the upper 80s. Charleston Harbor forecast, a hurricane warning in effect. Tonight, northeast winds increasing to hurricane force, seas building to 5 feet. Friday, winds diminishing and becoming southwest, 20 to 30 knots, seas 1 to 3 feet. Friday night, southwest winds, 20 knots, seas 1 foot. Visibility reduced to 3 miles or less in lane tonight and Friday. Hurricane Hugo position estimate. At 9 p.m., the center of Hurricane Hugo is estimated near latitude 31.9 north, longitude 79.0 west, or about 85 miles southeast of Charleston and 120 miles south